This movie is a lot better than I expected, and it's also not a dumb action movie that the trailer made it out to be. It's actually more about journalists, especially wartime journalism, and it's really, really interesting. Like, currently, there is a renewed importance in pointing out that journalists are important, especially wartime journalists, and this is what the movie focuses on. Also, I'm honest, I expected like some commentary on the political situation in the US, which doesn't really happen. Like, all the factions in this movie are not really explained. It's never made clear who is quote unquote right and who is wrong. Like, all sides do bad things and all sides kind of show what they're fighting for or who they're fighting against. So it's not really that you can say these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. It is a bit strange because there is no real context for the conflict. There are some hints, but it's never really made clear. So it's also difficult to talk about it without going to any spoilers. I just can say you should watch this movie. It is not as it appears from the trailer. It's not an action movie. Primarily, it is a drama. It is very much focused on humans, like on the reporters, not so much on politics. Like, I would even say it's very neutral on politics, given that it's never really explained who is fighting for what. So, it's, despite it's called Civil War, I would say it's a pretty neutral movie. Like, the only stance that this movie takes is that A, journalists are important, and B, war crimes are bad. That's basically the only political stance this movie takes, which I assume the vast majority of people can agree on. So now for some small spoilers. I will not spoiler the actual things that goes on with the main characters, just like the world. So there's never really an explanation why the Civil War broke out. It is hinted at that the president is in a third term, which right now would be illegal. So I'm assuming it's illegal in this future. It's like in the near future. It's also never explained when it happens. Like, it could be 2024, it could be 2030, it could be 2035. Near future. So he's in the third term, and also it is mentioned that he authorized the bombing of US civilians, which has already happened in the history of the United States, that civilians were bombed. So yeah, it's not that far-fetched. So that probably explains the rebellion. Then the faction that has the most structure, I would say, is the Western Alliance. This is also the most unrealistic part, I think, that it's Texas and California. Together, they have basically the like a real army, like their structure, they are in uniform, they move like an army should move, they behave like an army should behave. So they are basically the people that have their act together. Then there is a faction shown that is never explained who they are. They wear bright Hawaiian shirts, so the reference is pretty clear. But in this movie, they do not show their political stance. Like, they are fighting, they are killing people in uniform, then they commit a war crime by not only executing POWs but mutilating their corpses. So they are not really nice, but they also treat the journalists like journalists should be treated. Like, normally, they protect them, they take them in, they don't attack them. So maybe they are just a militia that goes a bit off. I don't know. Then you have a scene where you have a sniper and a spotter who have a sniping duel with somebody in a building. It's also never explained who these people are. Who is the sniper and his guy, and who is the other side. They never tell you who is who in this situation. It's just an intense, quiet down moment. It's interesting. Then you have the scene that is pretty clear. You have some guys who have a mass grave, who also do not appreciate journalism or journalists. And given their questioning of the main cast, they are very much pro-white middle America. So they're racist, basically. But it's never shown who they're fighting for or if they're even fighting for somebody, because they wear uniforms, but they don't have like military ranks or flags on them, and everybody can buy military fatigue. So there could be just some crazy people, and of course they have guns, but everybody in America has guns. So it's not clear if they're actually part of any faction or they're just crazy people who run around killing everybody they don't like. And yeah, to pretend like those people don't exist in America, or pretty much in every country, but in America they are armed, would be, well, it would be a lie. So they exist, so that's not unrealistic. And then of course you have the normal people, and they are just shown to flee from city to city. Like the normal civilians that you see are never shown to align with anyone. They're just refugees running around, and it's never really shown who they belong to. So at this point of the war, basically the Western Alliance of Texas and California is almost in Washington DC, and the quote-unquote Florida Alliance, like they mentioned something about a force from Florida, has taken over the Midwest of the United States, and the journalists basically want to go to DC. One wants to see the front line, one wants to interview the president before he gets killed, and one wants to take a picture of the president before he gets killed. So along the way they run into a lot of problems because it's a war zone. And at the end they basically reach the White House, which is interesting because you have people who look like normal US military shooting Secret Service agents, and Secret Service agents still defending a president who is apparently like a criminal. Like a real criminal, like somebody who orders the killing of his own people. So that's the backdrop. But the heart of the movie is the 4 journalists who go there. And yeah, basically it's about the importance of journalism and the price these people pay. Like they get numb to the sensation of war, to the pain, to the things they see. At least that's the way I saw it. It is definitely a movie that makes you think. Like, it is impressive. It shows the action always from the point of view of the journalists, who of course are unarmed and just partake and just watch and just report on what's happening. And the war itself is just a backdrop. So it is a neat trick that it is called Civil War, because the war is not really important. Like, war is important to the movie because they are wartime journalists, but this war in particular, what it's about, is kind of just background noises. So it is very interesting. It's much better than I expected. I assume if you are an American, your opinions on this movie would be vastly different than mine. And maybe you see some political commentary in this movie, but I honestly don't think it is there. Given that the only people who are clearly shown as evil are the ones with the mass grave. And I would assume that we all can agree that those are the bad people. And the other ones, they all do things that aren't really by the law. But also, there's no wider commentary on which of these guys is actually right, which of these is wrong. And it's also never shown who actually supports the president besides the Secret Service agents at the end, which I don't understand why they still support him, but I think they needed an action piece at the end. So this movie is definitely worth watching, just to challenge yourself on the perception of what wartime journalism is. I'm not sure if this would count as an anti-war movie. It's definitely a drama. It's definitely more focused on the people instead of the action, which is nice. So it is very interesting, very interesting. Of course, at the end they had to ruin this, so this is a major spoiler. Stop watching now. This is a important spoiler. Everything that happens before is just backdrop, like you probably could guess it from the trailer. But now comes a point that is a definite spoiler. Stop watching. I give you time. Don't watch the movie. So, everybody's gone now. One thing that is really annoying is when they ruin a movie with one scene. And this movie has one of those scenes, and that is basically the point that the director doesn't know how momentum works. I tried to show here a little animation. Basically, they're in a hallway. The people, the quote-unquote bad people, the antagonists, shooting at the protagonists. And the young reporter jumps into the middle of the hallway to take a picture. And then the experienced reporter runs in the same way, and instead of tackling her to the side, like how momentum would work, like how you tackle somebody and then fly to the other side, she runs in, stops in front of the young reporter and basically just pushes her back so that she falls down, and then of course gets shot instead of just tackling her to the room. She probably would have had enough momentum to just tackle her to the other side of the hallway and be safe, but yeah, this is really stupid. This is just to kill off a tired reporter, to pass the torch, to fulfill the arc. But this is stupid. They should have found a better way, unfortunately, but this is really kind of stupid how they did this. Anyway, other than this, really good movie, much better than I expected. I think you should watch this. It is very interesting. The acting is really good throughout, and this is a real surprise this year.